It's important for us to understand exactly how paths are specified in HTML. The vast majority of our link paths are going to be relative. In other words, they are going to refer to other parts of our own web project. The destination file here is going to be referenced via a relative path. Relative to what? Relative to the path of the currently loaded HTML page. So let's go ahead and understand how we work with paths in HTML. Let's consider the structure of a fairly typical web project. The HTML and CSS in a fairly typical web project would be laid out somewhat like this. We would have a folder containing all of our web code. Let's assume that it's called project. Within this, we divide into two further directories, one containing the images and the other containing the source or the HTML files. In this example, we have three HTML files, example3.html, and then two more files which are the two destinations of the clickable links. Let's assume for a second that all of these HTML files reside in the source folder. This source folder resides in the project folder. How then would we specify a link from one of these files to the other? Well, in this case, it would be really easy because all of the files are in the same directory. So the paths relative to each other only need to contain the names of the file. For instance, let's say we were embedding this link inside example3.html and we wanted it to refer to the other two files. We'd simply do it by specifying the names of those files. We would not require any more directory information. Now let's say for a second that we changed the structure of our directory. We created a directory called destinations, and this directory contained these two HTML files. Now we would need to change the destinations of our links. The href would now point to dest/ followed by the name of the HTML file. In other words, the relative path now needs to include this destination directory. And what would happen if we move this destination directory directly into the project folder? Well, we would again need to modify our paths. This time, we would make use of the ... operator. The words ... in a path represent moving one level up from the current directory. Again, ... means move one up from the parent directory. You could use ... separated by forward slashes multiple times to move further and further up the hierarchy. For instance, ... would move 3 levels up the hierarchy. Remember that in your website, you can only go up to the root of your own website. It's not okay for you to try and access HTML of anyone else. Your hosting provider will prohibit this in any case because this is a security violation. Well, hopefully you get the idea. Well, now how would you go about accessing the image files which are inside the images directory? That shouldn't be too hard. Recall that we have two image files, one corresponding to the skeleton, that's skeleton.png, and the other corresponding to the girl performing martial arts, that's called karategirl.jpg. We'll specify these using the image tags. Again, the image tags have a source attribute. This source attribute again is a path, a relative path, just like the href attribute in the a tag. And these relative paths would now include the ... operator to go one level up. Then they would use the forward slash followed by the name of the images directory, followed by another forward slash, and lastly the name of the image. Remember to always use the forward slash whether you are on a Windows or a Mac or a Unix machine. All URL paths always only make use of the forward slash. Also, never use spaces in any of your paths. And lastly, what would happen if your path pointed to a location which did not exist? Well, it depends. If it was in an A tag, when the user clicked on that link, he would experience a 404 error. In other words, he would find that the page there cannot be loaded. If it's with an image tag, well then we can give it a spin. What would happen is the image would just not load and you would get the kind of look that you see over there on the right. Later, when we talk about the image path, you'll see that there is a way to specify some alternative text, just in case the image was unable to load because of network or bandwidth issues. In any case, hopefully this example has given you a good flavor of how you create links and how you specify paths, relative paths that is, in HTML.